There's a lot of ways that we can help pets, their stress. There's a lot of ways we can help ourselves and our stress. It's not always easy, but that's holistic medicine, right? We're looking at everything. It's a lifestyle change that we're implementing. It's not a quick fix, because with quick fixes, when you remove that fix, like a drug, it comes right back because we didn't resolve the underlying balance. That's really, really important. And it can be one of the most frustrating things when you're going down a holistic medicine approach. It is a lifelong journey. It is a lifestyle, but it's really important because when you start living that holistic life, looking at emotional health, physical health, overall well-being, looking at your nutrition, you will change your life. You will change your pet's life. Good morning, everyone. Something I hear from so many pet parents and people in general right now is that I'm so stressed, but so is everyone. It's 2020, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. All the crazy things are happening. So why wouldn't we be stressed? However, I also hear, it's normal. It's not something that affects my life very much. But have you ever noticed your pets get stressed when you're stressed? So you're going crazy or something happens and then you're like, why is my dog so upset? Or why is the cat freaking out? Or maybe they even show signs of physical disease when you're stressed. Have you ever noticed your dog getting loose stool, diarrhea, or maybe your cat gets a urinary tract infection after a stressful event, like a change in roommates or a change in furniture in the house? These can all be symptoms and signs of an emotional health imbalance. So what if I told you, if you feel this way, you've been running a marathon with a weighted vest on for an entire marathon. You have this weight on you. But guess what? Your pet's right alongside you, carrying a weighted vest for themselves. And this is where we need to look at what would happen. How would you feel? How would your pet feel removing that weighted vest? So most of us don't realize the weight of our stress and when we don't take care of our emotional health and what it's actually doing to ourselves and our own physical health and for the physical health of our pets, and how it can lead to chronic disease down the road for our pets, for ourselves. And this is why it's so important that we talk about the emotional aspect, that emotional realm of health and wellness, rather than just focusing on physical disease. So I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor. This is our weekly coffee talk with the doc. I'm glad you're here joining me live. We've got a few new faces, which I'm really excited about. So pop your questions in the comments box, and I'll make sure that I try to address these surrounding anxiety, surrounding stress. Those are the things that we're talking about. So we're going to talk about what is stress, how can it show up in your pets, but we're also going to touch on you, because we are connected. We are connected to our pets. I see it every single day where I see changes in people's health, and it correlates to those changes in your pet's health. And so this is so important that we talk about this, because if we don't address our own emotional status and our emotional health, it's very difficult to fix our pets. They're just so in tune with us. This is why it's important that we look at the emotional side. There's so many different diseases that we can prevent for our pets. So why does stress happen? What are the signs that we need to be watching for that can actually indicate stress or emotional imbalance in our pets that we may not be even picking up on? And most importantly, what you can do to help them from a holistic approach, because there's so many different options that we have. And what's really, really cool is that when we implement some of these natural remedies for you, for your pets, like we can all do it and we all feel better and our health thrives. So who's excited for that? I love this conversation and I love talking about stress because it's so important right now. Who's been feeling stress? Like, like a thumbs up if you've been stressed out and you're like, life is crazy. Like so many things have happened throughout this entire year. And I know that this stress is contributing to some of the diseases that I see in pets every day. And so, like I mentioned, as you're joining us live, make sure I'm following along with you guys. So make sure you post your comments, your questions below so everyone can see them, and I'll do my best to answer those as we go. So first off, I want people to realize like there's a huge connection between the gut and the brain. There's a gut-brain axis, and 70% of behavior problems in dogs can actually be related to the microbiome. Like what's going on in their gut health is reflecting on what's going on outwardly with their behaviors. And so when we have this chronic stress, a lot of times we don't even realize it because it just becomes our normal. Our sympathetic nervous system response, we need that response. There's a fight or flight response that keeps us alive. It tells us, do we need to run? Do we stay and fight? And it tells us like, hey, this is how we survive. And we need that. Without that, we're no good. Like back in the old days when we were fighting off, you know, we're cavemen and we're fighting off the saber-toothed tigers. Like if you didn't have that sympathetic nervous system response and you're like just hanging out, chilling, you're going to get eaten. Like you needed that response. And we need those responses now. If you're in a time of danger, things like that, that needs to kick in and your reflexes need to go. That adrenaline kicks in with that sympathetic nervous system. But then what should happen is your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and it downgrades it. So yes, you have some cortisol, but then you have other hormones coming in to dampen down, put the brakes on that sympathetic nervous system response, and your body goes back to normal. So you shouldn't be feeling stressed out all the time. Now, what happens with chronic stress for us, for our pets, and this is the equivalent of wearing that weighted vest all the time. You're running that marathon, you've got this weight on you, your pet's with you, they've got their vest on too, because we're all carrying it together, we're carrying that stress together. The cortisol stays in the body. And cortisol is good in short spurts. It's not good long term. If you have chronic cortisol release all the time, it's going to lead to inflammatory disorders. It's going to affect your gut microbiome, the gut health. And then we see chronic diseases, things like diabetes. We see long-term anxiety turning into physical manifestations of disease, chronic diarrhea, stress cystitis in cats. We see cancer, allergies flare up. And that is not the ideal outcome. But that's what happens if we don't manage the emotional health aspect for us and for our pets. So what are some of the signs that you might be seeing in your pets that could be showing up as anxiety that you need to be watching for? There can be subtle signs, just like us. Sometimes you're like a little bit reactive, right? You're like, oh, shouldn't have responded to that email that way. Or maybe I could have chosen to be nicer to that person. Was that truly necessary? These can be common signs we see in ourselves. Who's felt that way where they just feel a little bit like on the edge and you're like, ugh, I just feel off. I don't feel right. I always feel stressed. Person cuts you off in traffic and you just like want to run them down. And you're like, ah, and it's like, why, where did that come from? Oh my goodness. Like these can be signs of chronic stress that are happening in your everyday life if we're not managing it appropriately. With our pets, dogs and cats, you may notice destructive behaviors. Dogs, especially separation anxiety. You leave the house and they destroy everything. Or you may notice that they just sit and wait. They wait until you come back home. They don't go to sleep. They're just sitting there waiting. These can be signs of an emotional health imbalance. Panting excessively, pacing excessively. If you have a pet with thunderstorm anxiety, they go and hide in the closet when they hear the noise or they feel the barometer pressure changes. Like who here has a pet where you know a storm is coming because you're like, oh, the pressure must be changing, or you may even feel it in yourself. The pressure changes with storms is pretty crazy how pets can respond and how you can feel and how it affects your mood. People can get migraines. There's all sorts of things that can happen that we don't even realize are happening. Trembling, aggression. If you notice all of a sudden your pet's having aggression. Now, the biggest thing with these, if you're noticing a change in your pet from a normal state, and you're like, if that wasn't there before, like, why is this happening? You need to get them checked out, take them into the vet, make sure that there's not something else going on internally. And maybe that problem developed because there was stress, like long-term. Doesn't mean that we can't fix it though. But you need to get them checked out, get the blood work run, make sure that there's not pain. Pain can lead to stress and anxiety in our pets, and they're really good at hiding it, especially cats. You may notice them compulsively grooming themselves, so licking excessively. They may actually form little sores. If you've had a dog that's ever had what we call an acral granuloma, so those little spots on their fur or on their skin, usually on a front leg, where they lick it excessively and they get a red sore in that area. That is a sign of stress. It could also be an underlying sign of pain. So that's why it's really important to get those checked out. Lip smacking. You ever had, like Finn, our German Shepherd, he was the anxiety. So he was good for the most part. But then if you asked him to do something, or he was in a situation where he was uncomfortable, you ever notice like the lip smacking that they do where they're just like licking? Or they do the yawn, like where they're yawning. They're not tired, they're stressed. So if you're noticing your dog is just yawning all the time, they're probably not tired. They're probably actually stressed. So these are clues and cues that we can pick up that may actually indicate there's an underlying issue going on. And I always say, how is your stress? Is your pet picking up on your stress levels? So it's a time for you to check in with yourself and go, hey, am I taking care of myself so that I can take care of my pets? And they aren't nervous that the leader of the pack is failing. Like, and I'm getting nervous here because I'm going to have to take over and I'm going to have to lead this pack. And this is unknown territory to me. And that's what can go on in pets' heads, especially dogs. Like if all of a sudden the leader is weak and they start going, oh gosh, like the dynamic is changing and it's going to create stress in them. So this is really important for you to look at, okay, how is the household? What is changing? Looking at the whole picture. That is something that we tend not to do. We just go, my pet's anxious or I'm anxious. And there is a time and a place for conventional anti-anxiety medications, and I don't discount them at all. And they help a lot of pets, and a lot of people really benefit from them. But I think sometimes also the point is being missed on why is this happening, and are we taking care of ourselves, and are we fulfilling the needs for our pets? And we have to look at that, especially if you want to avoid those drugs and some of the problems that can come from using chronic drugs. So that's really, really important. And I would just be really careful, like not just looking at the symptom. Remember, conventional medicine, we treat symptoms. We aren't treating the whole body, the whole environment a lot of the times. So that's really important to take a look at and make sure that we are assessing and addressing those issues. So that way we are actually treating the root cause of that problem. That is really, really important. And so with those signs of anxiety, if you are seeing that in your pet, if you're seeing that in yourself, like you're feeling reactive, you're just super stressed out, you're not sleeping, your workload's overwhelming, crazy things are happening, 2020, COVID is happening, all the things, there's a lot going on. What can you do? What can you do for yourself? What can you do for your pets? This is really important. So these are the tools and the tactics that you need to start implementing today. And the cool thing is that a lot of these things you can actually utilize for your pets will actually help you. And that's what I love about this and what I love about this topic. And it's so pertinent right now. So number one, what are your routines? What does the environment look like? Do you have routines set up in your life? Maybe you don't. I know when my morning routine gets off, I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? I feel out of sorts. And then I'm just like wandering around and I'm like, what am I doing? What's next? Like, I know I have to each morning journal, plan my day, sit down, write in my gratitude journal. Even if life sucks, and there's been a lot of things that have sucked with this year, not gonna lie, there has been a lot of deaths in our family, my fur family. There's been a lot of changes. There have been a lot of really hard things, but there is always something to be grateful for, and it resets my mind. Yes, your pet can't necessarily sit down with you and do gratitude and write down their gratitude, but all you have to do is sit with your pet, and I tell you what, it will change your mindset. When I look at my cats and I go, you know what, like, I'm so grateful for my fur family and the memories I have of my past fur family, and I write those down and I embrace them, it changes my mindset. Even if I have to say, you know what, the sun is shining today, the fires are almost out, you know, it's a beautiful day out. Focusing on those things. I woke up today. Those basic things are so important. And then the routine piece. This is really important for your pets, for your dogs, for your cats. What is their routine? Did their routine change with your change in maybe your work schedule, or potentially even losing a job, or, you know, getting out of whack with restrictions and things like that? Are you exercising them? Are you exercising yourself? Are you working out to help your stress levels? That will help cortisol. Those endorphins that are released for you and for your pets when you get outside, or you play indoors, or you work out, will do huge things for your stress levels. So that's really, really important. Making sure you have those set routines. Our pets are really in tune. If you have a dog or a cat, you usually don't even need a clock in your house, because they are set on their routines when they're fed, when it's bedtime, when it's treat time. I know my cat, 4:30 every morning, there's Moki at the door, ready for his breakfast. Like, I know, I'm like, oh, it's 4:30, Moki's waking us up. So those are really, really important things to keep those routines the same for you, for your pet. Yes, they'll change a little bit every day just based on other things that happen, but those are sacred. You need to protect them. So your environment, most important. Number 2, nutrition. That's probably actually equally as important, to be honest. Have you ever eaten like a week of processed food, or you binge on some like ice cream and like cookies and snacks and high sugar foods? Do you feel good after? I know I don't. I'm like, it's great at the time. I'm like, it tastes so good. And then afterwards, I'm like, ooh, not good. Now I'm sluggish, tired. My GI health is off. Like, the whole system is off. So we need to look at, what are we putting into our bodies to nourish ourselves? Is it truly feeding our body, or is it leading to more chronic inflammation, changing our microbiome for the worse, and feeding the bad bacteria? If you have arthritis, your pet has arthritis, and we feed them foods that are inflammatory, you will make the arthritis worse. That is a fact. And you can feel it in yourself. When you eat poorly, you do things that aren't suiting you and your overall health, you will feel worse. So what does that look like for a dog and a cat? Optimal nutrition. Those cats need to be on wet food diets, higher protein, higher quality diets. Your dogs, if they're on kibble food, making sure you're feeding the best quality of kibble food that you can, or transitioning them to a dehydrated diet that has more real foods. If you can't do that, adding in steamed vegetables, feeding the rainbow to your pets. This is more for dogs. Some cats will eat that. So if they like it, feed it to them. I have patients that the cats eat broccoli. I'm like, good for you. Mine won't touch it, but you know, that's great, because those phytonutrients in the food are going to help reduce inflammation in the pet. And so that's something that we can integrate in to help reduce inflammation, calm down the body, and feed the good bacteria in the microbiome. There are numerous studies that showcase that food changes gene expression. It's called nutrigenomics. And when we feed certain foods, it will turn on or off certain genes. This is how cool the research is and how powerful nutrition is for your pet. And see, I love it. My cat loves broccoli. There it is. There's another example. That's like, so I have cats that eat lettuce. Like there's all sorts of things that you can try it. Try it with your cats. Now, keeping in mind they're obligate carnivores, so they are going to benefit the most from a high quality meat diet. And I'm not just saying feed a slab of meat, a balanced, high quality, meat, higher protein diet. So that would be number 2, on par with your environment. Those are going to be equal weight, but very important to look at and assess, is this nutrition feeding my pet? Is it helping them? Supplements. This is a huge topic, and we talk a lot about supplements, different brands, things that are going to benefit your pets, things that are going to benefit you. And start with probiotics. Probiotics are very helpful, especially if your pet is stressed. And what's really neat is there's products being made. So Purina Calming Care is a probiotic that utilizes a certain bacterial strain, Bifidobacterium longum. And they've done studies to showcase that stress is actually reduced. So what it's doing, so remember, going back to that gut-brain axis, the gut is talking to the brain, and depending on what type of strains of bacteria we have in our gut, that our pets have in their gut, those bacteria are releasing different chemicals. So it could be either beneficial chemicals or chemicals that may make you feel crazy. And it's connecting with the brain. It's talking directly to the brain, and it's going to affect how you feel, how your pet feels. So this Bifidobacterium longum species is feeding those good bacteria. We're putting more of those species back in, the good ones, and they're releasing more serotonin, more calming chemicals to help your pet feel more relaxed, to help with anxiety. So that's a real cool thing we can do with probiotics. Now there's all sorts of different probiotic strains. We did an entire talk on probiotics. I highly recommend going to it. So check it out at thenaturalpetdoctor.com. Go to our blog section. You can also go to our YouTube channel and check it out there. But rewatch that, because we talk about the 3 different types, like families, classes of probiotics, because they're going to affect your pet in different ways. Some pets have overgrowth of bacteria in their small intestine, and they're not going to do as well with strains that are predominantly lactobacillus bifidobacterium, because it could potentially be feeding that imbalance in the small intestine. So then we may want to use strains like bacillus that can travel right through the small intestine, get to the colon, and help feed those intestinal cells. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use probiotics alongside nutrition to feed those good bacterial strains, and then utilize supplements to fill in the gaps. Some of the other supplements that I recommend if we're feeling anxiety would be pheromones. So Adaptil, your Feel Away products, Adaptils for dogs, Feel Aways for cats. You can get plugins, you plug them into the wall, and they release the pheromone. If you have a cat, you've seen your cat rub up against furniture, rub up against you. They're releasing a pheromone. They've taken that, they bottled it, and now you can use it to help your cat feel better. And just like your dog, your Adaptil. There's sprays that you can use in the bedding, on the bedding, in carriers when you take your cat to the vet clinic. So these are all things that you can utilize, and they're safe. They may work, they may not work. So it can be a mixed bag. Our kitten responds really well to Feel Away. So when we first adopted him, in the room that he was in, to get used to a new environment, the Feel Away adapter was plugged into that wall, because that's where he spent most of his time. So these are some of the things that you can use. Rescue Remedy. So this is utilizing Bach flowers to help calm the body. So great option if you're like thunderstorms are coming, fireworks, your pet is stressed, you have separation anxiety, you can use this before you leave. It's just another great option that you can use. Other kind of in the area of supplements, essential oils. So now we're kind of going more like herbs. What herbs can you use? Essential oils are really, really helpful. Getting a diffuser, a water diffuser, using your good brands that are pure therapeutic, they're unadulterated, they don't have synthetic things added into them. Some of the great essential oils, this is where this will benefit you too. So listen up, if you have stress, anxiety, you feel like, oh, I'm losing my mind, get these essential oils, get a water diffuser, start diffusing it. Usually I'm diffusing it behind me on that little table to relax, or I can use essential oils to like boost my mood or focus. That's the cool thing about essential oils. They're taking those extracts from plants, super concentrated, less is more, but you can utilize them for the therapeutic properties of that plant. So lavender, Roman chamomile, valerian, these are frankincense is a great grounding oil. And guess what? They're all safe for your dogs and cats when you're using pure therapeutic essential oils. So that would be something where I use Young Living, Animal EO, doTERRA. Those tend to be safe brands. Start small, diffuse in an open room, but just if you have cats especially, so that they can come and go as they please, that's really important. So start with that and you'll feel better. Drink lavender and chamomile tea at night before you go to bed. Create that routine. Remember, the routines are really important, but utilize those plant compounds that are known and have been studied to show that they reduce anxiety. There have been numerous studies that have shown that dogs that get anxious in the car, they applied a drop of lavender essential oil to a bandana and the dog laid down and panted less. That's pretty powerful. And that is not a placebo effect. Like a lot of people claim herbs and supplements and all the things are placebo effect in pets. That ain't a placebo effect. If your dog is laying down and panting less after you applied something. So there's a lot of studies that showcase that these herbs and plants and essential oils and things like that can do amazing things for your pet's health. So definitely utilize them because you will gain the benefits too to help you. The final thing that I'm going to talk about, it is lumped into supplements, but I feel like it's a hot topic and a lot of people are using it, and a lot of people are using it and may not be using it appropriately and spending a lot of money on it. CBD. CBD products for pets, if you're using them for your pet, like thumbs up, heart, if you're using something for your pet, very, very common. However, it's very unregulated. It's a very unregulated industry, but CBD definitely has a really like big place when we're treating anxiety and helping to support our pets. And we have to keep in mind, so the body has these cannabinoid receptors. This is how it works. So the endocannabinoid system, all mammals have it. And what they're doing is they're releasing certain chemicals. And sometimes if our systems are off, we may not have enough receptors. We may not have enough hormones in our body. And this is where we can utilize CBD to add in these beneficial chemicals to help rebalance and help maintain homeostasis in the body. And with CBD, some pets don't do well on it. So you want to be starting with smaller amounts. And typically for treating anxiety, smaller amounts are going to be more beneficial. If you're using a higher dosage, sometimes that can induce more anxiety. So your treats tend to be lower concentration. So they tend to be around like 5 milligrams per treat. So these are a great option to introduce into your dogs and start there. One of the companies that I love that recently did a live video with is VetCS. And I talked to Dr. Chelsea Ludke, who is the CEO of the company, and they've created an organic product, pure, it is tested, it's full spectrum. So we're gaining all those beneficial properties of that cannabis plant minus the THC that can be harmful in certain concentrations for pets. But what they did recently, they just launched a new product and it's a peanut butter paste. Like, holy cow, CBD tastes like bleh. And so a lot of pets don't want it. Peanut butter paste with CBD in it. If you're using Kongs, you have a pet that has separation anxiety, now you can put that in the Kong and help your pet feel better. So check that out, VetCS. You can use code T101, get a discount, but check that out because I love that. For your cats, if your cat's stressed out, they're prone to things like urinary cystitis, UTIs, they're always peeing outside the litter box. You've tried everything. It's probably stress. Their stress system is off. It's creating inflammation in the body. That inflammation is going to the bladder, and that's why they don't have a bacterial infection. Every time you go to the vet and check a urine sample, there's no bacteria. It's the stress response. We have to look at their environment. Do they have everything they need? Do they have a safe spot? Do they have numerous clean litter trays? But what is their stress? And if we're not addressing that and we're missing the emotional health, that cat will continue to pee all over your house. So CBD can help. VetCS has a low odor product, which I really like because cats are really sensitive to smell and won't eat it. So even putting a drop on a dried liver treat can help tremendously. There's a lot of ways that we can help pets, their stress. There's a lot of ways we can help ourselves and our stress. It's not always easy, but that's holistic medicine, right? We're looking at everything. It's a lifestyle change that we're implementing. It's not a quick fix, because with quick fixes, when you remove that fix, like a drug, it comes right back because we didn't resolve the underlying balance. That's really, really important. And it can be one of the most frustrating things when you're going down a holistic medicine approach. It is a lifelong journey. It is a lifestyle, but it's really important because when you start living that holistic life, looking at emotional health, physical health, overall well-being, looking at your nutrition, you will change your life. You will change your pet's life. Hey pet parents, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, would you please hit the subscribe button below and post any questions you have down below. Also, if you'd like to join us on our next live training to learn more about holistic health in your pets, then click the link to join our Natural Pet Tribe to gain access to live videos every month with me and the ability to ask me questions. I'd love to give you more education and interaction to help your pets thrive naturally. Until next time, please subscribe and share this video with other pet parents that may need help and guidance to help their furry family members live a long and vibrant life. Thanks again for being a part of our community.